Emory Jones at quarterback. It is going to be a show you're going to want to watch. Not that you don't want to watch it now. We were hoping to get Reese Davis on today. It turns out we had to bump him to Monday, or he bumped himself to Monday. Something came up. He can't do it today from ESPN Game Day. Love Reese to death. He's already been on our show once. He's going to do the show Monday. And if things work out, Riddell Anthony is also going to join us. So what a great show that will be Monday. Doesn't mean you don't need to watch this show. I've got a great feature for you today that I think you guys are going to enjoy. And we're hoping to get Bruce Feldman on here from The Athletic and Fox Sports in a little bit to talk college football, which continues to be the main topic. Although I will say this, guys, I have gotten so into these NBA playoffs, and I think it's because every time I think the team I want to win is going to lose, they win. That thing with the Hawks was ridiculous the other night. Down 26, down 24 with 2 minutes left in the third quarter, and to win that game. And I've said this before, I didn't think Trae Young was going to be a great pro. I was dead wrong about that. And here's the thing, though. I said this on the radio the other day, I think, that I said Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons had a terrible attitude at LSU. He had a bad coach. That was not, I just didn't think Ben Simmons would translate. And then I'm watching him play, and man, this guy is unbelievable. Block shots, makes three. No, it's turned out he's not very good. He is what he is, and in that game against the Hawks, only 2 players scored baskets in the second half. That, to me, is incredible. I was into that. I was into the Bucks beating the Nets. My daughter is going to Game 6, which I think is tonight or tomorrow night, for the Clippers and the Jazz tomorrow night. So she's excited about it. She lives out in Los Angeles, and actually my other daughter is going out there to work on a movie with her. Her husband's a director. So all is good. All is well in the Dooley world. And, of course, a lot of stuff going on. We do have a great Adams Ribco to go, Mount Rushmore. We're doing baseball today. It's going to be a tough one. I've been thinking about it, and I've actually changed my opinion on it today. Also, 3 things from Hand Law. We appreciate them so much. Leonardo's and Millhopper's Quick Picks. And, again, we moved this, that, and the other to Mondays, and looking forward to getting back to that. So we have a few more things going. We're not all packed in on Fridays. We have a lot of stuff going well on Mondays. So we look forward to being able to do that. But again, I just want to tell you that if you want to get on as a sponsor here, we appreciate it. That's what's going to keep this show going. And so far, we've had incredible responses from people that are our sponsors. People like Adams Ribco, Titan MRI, obviously Leonardo's Hand Law, which we appreciate them so much. I didn't even know these guys at Hand Law, and they got on board, and we've kind of become friends now. So Adams Ribco to go. I mentioned. Did I miss anybody? Oh, Shakow and Mercadante will come on the July 2nd show, and in fact, on that show, Steve Mercadante is going to be on the show, and we're going to talk to him, but we're going to talk to him about baseball. Nobody knows more baseball, and that includes Jeff Cardozo, than Steve Mercadante. His son is a coach. Steve played not only at Florida, but at St. John's River Community College, home of the Fighting Vikings, which we still have not been able to figure out why they're called the Vikings. Why a school inland in Palaca, Florida will be called the Vikings. We haven't figured. But he and I went to school there together, and then we both went to school over here at Florida, and he was a first baseman for Florida. So we'll have him on as well. And like I said, next week, Reese Davis will join us and Riddell Anthony on the same day. That's kind of weird. One name starts R-E, the other name starts R-E. Yeah. And then we'll have a bunch of stuff going forward. Again, this summer is always a tough time of the year, and we all know that. And in college football, though, it has kept everything lively. The latest being the NIL and all the all the stuff that's going on there, and I don't know what's going to happen there, and people are like, we're 2 weeks away from the deadline, right? July 1st is the deadline, when 6 states are going to go and say you can make money off your name, image, and likeness. But what a mess that is. So Florida, you can do whatever you want. You can just pay players. You know, if any of our sponsors want to pay one of the Jacob Copeland $5,000 to go, you know, down to the to their dealership or their restaurant or whatever, they can do that technically. But I tell you one thing that I keep waiting for is I think you'll see the NCAA get injunctions against them. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to go away. But this is, again, a perfect example of the NCAA just screwing everything up. And yet Mark Emmert gets rehired and for $3 million a year. Not good at his job. If you and I had his job, we'd all be fired. I don't even work full time and I would be fired. He's just not any good at his job. But the presidents go, hey, we're still making money. You guys, the presidents basically are saying, you handle that. You handle all this stuff. We're not worried about it. We know you screwed up left and right, but you worry about it. You handle it. So, and look, it is what it is, and we're about to see this incredible change in the landscape. There's no doubt there's going to be a major change in the landscape, but I keep telling people this. Okay, so what are you saying? Alabama's got boosters with a lot of money, and they're willing to spend it. They've been spending it for years, in fact. But are you saying Alabama now is going to get really good because they have this name, image, and likeness? They don't even have that law. Florida, California, Texas, I don't remember all the states that do. Alabama does not have that law. But you think Alabama's going to get better because they can offer recruits more money than they're paying them now? I'm not saying they're paying them now, but if more money, or I guess I kind of was saying they're paying them now. But do you think that's going to happen? They're already getting all the best players. What difference is that going to make? So I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference in terms of, you know, the rich getting richer. We always talk about the rich getting richer. And they're going to get richer. Now, how are they going to get richer? You only have 25 scholarships per year that you can offer. You only have 85 scholarship players on your team. Now, there are things involving some of the way that people spend money. In fact, I know for a fact that Florida had a recruiting dinner a couple of weeks ago. They spent $12,000 on it for recruits and their families to have whatever they wanted to eat. It's the way it works. It's the way it works. It's just what it is. So, did you say we had Bruce? No, okay. All right, so hopefully we'll get Bruce Feldman on here in a minute. We look forward to him. And then next week will be a lot of fun. But I've got this whole segment here, and I want to save it for later because I think we may get shut out on both of our guests, which is my fault, probably. Sometimes I don't articulate very well, and that's fine. We will get into some of the other things that we always do here on the show, and I know that you fans love that as well. So I'm just checking my phone real quick to make sure I have not. It's interesting. Ranking. This is interesting. Ranking the nation's best quarterbacks. Sam Howell and Spencer Rattler. Now, Gator fans know Spencer Rattler really well because he was the quarterback against Florida in that game against Oklahoma. One thing I did listen to today that I thought was really interesting was this talk about what is going to happen in the SEC East. In other words, everybody goes, Everybody's going, Florida's going to be not where Georgia's going to be here, Florida's going to be here, everybody else is down here, but the one team that could come up and do this is Kentucky. And I keep going, well, why didn't they do it before? Why don't they start doing it before? They just don't do it. They always find a way to lose a game. They do have a soft schedule. And let me tell you what, whenever you're making any of these predictions in college football, anything, and I used to argue with my friend Heath Klein. We got to get Heath on the show sometime because he's great to talk to about things. He would always say, when you're doing your preseason poll, you don't need to look at the schedule. You can't look at the schedule. And I'm like, no, I have to look at the schedule because I want to know, for example, I believe that a lot of the reason why Florida is being downplayed this year and downgraded is because Florida is playing Alabama and LSU from the other side in the West. And this is, it's unfortunate for Florida. This is the year that they drew Alabama. They always have LSU. And the reason that Florida always has LSU is that Florida doesn't want to let go of LSU. There was a movement at one time to get LSU off the books and say, hey, we want to just open it up so you guys, because I know, but again, Tennessee wants to play Alabama every year. It's a tradition. I don't know why they think it's a tradition. Nobody else thinks it's a tradition. Auburn wants to play Georgia, the oldest rivalry in the South. Just want to go to sleep on that. I think they just ought to open it up and say, I think it should be 1 versus 1, and 2 versus 2, and 3, and so 7 should play 7 instead of always, it's who you catch in a certain cycle. So, for example, the way Florida catches Alabama this year, in a year when Florida's dealing with a transition, not only a quarterback, but at all those wide receiver positions, tight end, that's not easy. Coaching changes that Florida has been pretty lucky not to have. So that's never easy to deal with that. So I think it's an unfair, but again, this is what college football is, and everybody has to kind of understand that. I'm actually working on a piece. Chris Harry makes fun of me when I say piece. I'm working on a story or a column. It's not a piece. War and Peace was a piece. That was a hell of a piece. But about how, just how things that you have to understand about college football. That it's better if you take my advice on these things. The things that matter about college football. For example, you know my saying, every game's its own game. But you better look at the schedule before you decide how many games a team's gonna win. For example, this year, Alabama in Vegas. If you go to Vegas right now, boy, your arms will be tired if you fly all the way out there. And again, you don't count the FCC championship game or the playoff games or the bowl games. The over-under on Alabama is 11.5. And if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but I'm tempted, but I'm not, I would bet the under on that. And I think they'll lose a game. Now, early in the season, obviously they've got Miami in the opener. I think they'll beat Miami, but Miami could beat them. And Mighty Gators, Game 3, could beat them. Those are possibilities. Texas A&M on the road could beat them. Texas A&M is at home. Alabama's on the road. So with all this that they've lost, even though I have nothing but respect for the great Nick Saban, he's the best I think that's ever coached a game. Even with that, I still think they're going to lose a game. I think Alabama will be 11-1, playing in the SEC championship game, win the SEC championship, go to the playoffs, could win it all. But they're going to lose a game in the regular season. I'm telling you, that's a good bet in Vegas. Now, that same, no, this is Caesar's Palace. I think it's Thomas Hill is what the book is. Not Henry Hill, who was in Goodfellas. Don't bet with Henry Hill. I think he just died recently, actually. Yeah. But anyway, so Florida's over-under is 9. And like I would stay far away from that. I think they'll win 9 games. I hope they win 9 games. They might win 10 or 11. They might win 7 or 8. No idea what they're going to end up doing. Whether they're going to be a team that, and like Texas A&M is higher than Florida. I think LSU's higher than Florida, LSU's actually 8.5. But again, these are done, and this is another one of my commandments. These are done not to make you mad, not because this is really what they think. They are done to make you want to bet. And so I'm fired up about maybe going to Vegas. I think I'm going to LA later this summer. Go to Vegas. If it's still 11.5, I'm betting against Alabama. Has that ever worked out for anybody in the last 10 years? Probably not. But I may be the first one that doesn't. All right, so I guess we're not going to get Bruce. I don't know what happened there. He may be thinking he's on Central Time or Pacific Coast Time. So what we'll do right now is we'll do the Adams Ribco to go. I hope you've been by there. If you haven't been by there, you're just a fool, because you walk in there within minutes, they've got your great food and there's tremendous dinners that they have. I've done it many times, and we'll do it even more times. Adams Ribco to go, Mount Rushmore, because as we talked about several times ago, we did not have the ability this year or not this time of year, to have a Gator of the Week. Now, technically you could. Caleb Dressel could be your Gator of the Week because he qualified for the Olympics and all that. And but yeah, I just thought we would do this to get through the summer. So our Mount Rushmore today is baseball, and this is an interesting one because there's one guy that's a no-brainer to me, and I may fawn over him too much, and I know Jeff does too. But Brad Wilkerson, to me, is the greatest player to ever play at Florida. And the reason I think he's the greatest player is pretty simple. In his freshman year, coming out of high school from Owensboro, Kentucky, he hit over 400, which guys don't do a lot. They still don't do it a lot. Hit over 400. Then he wanted to hit for more power, so he set the home run record. And he was Florida's closer on a team that went to the College World Series and closed the FSU game and hit a grand slam to win the game. And then he became a starter and won, I think he won 10 games his senior year. So he played 3 years, broke all the records, and was a pitcher, nubbing it up there. I mean, he's throwing 85-mile-an-hour fastballs. He claims that I threw way harder than that. No, you didn't. I was there. But he got people out because he was one of the great minds in terms of determination. I love Brad Wilkerson to death, and he is going on my Mount Rushmore. Now, the other, I think, no-brainer is Kevin O'Sullivan. And this goes back to what with Billy Donovan, with Steve Spurrier. There are coaches that are iconic. Kevin O'Sullivan has done what nobody's ever done, won a national title. But he's also gotten them to Omaha year after year after year. I know this year was a disappointing year. There was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of rumors going around. Don't worry about them. None of them matter. If they don't matter to Scott Strickland, they shouldn't matter to you because they're just rumors. But, the bottom line is I think Sully in 2022 is going to be the best baseball coach he's ever been. But the bottom line is he's done enough for me to put him on that Mount Rushmore. The third guy is Mike Zunino that I would put on there. And that's because Zunino was not only a great hitter, he was a great clutch hitter. It's like you'd be sitting there and you'd be watching that. I don't know if you guys ever do this. You watch the game day, or not game day, the game changer where you're watching, you're not watching the game, but you're watching what is happening. And you actually they have a little baseball and it goes, and you hope it goes out of the park. Sometimes it goes to the left fielder. I've watched a lot of that, too much of that. But when Zunino would come up and all of a sudden you go, holy crap, he just won the game. Or he just hit a solo homer when they were down one to tie the game. And I think, in my mind, the best defensive catcher I ever seen in college baseball. And I remember shaking hands with him one day after an interview. I know when it was. It was right before they were going to Omaha, where he was going to be named Player of the Year. And I shook hands with him. I said, hey, it's just been a real pleasure. I don't say that to many people. It's been a real pleasure to cover you during these 3 years. I just want to tell you I appreciate it. And I shook hands with him and I went, holy crap, where's my hand? It's gone. It was this massive paw. And that's why he was a good catcher. But he was also why he was a good hitter. The only guy who shook hands with me that made me wince, and I don't want to say wince, I want to say cry, was Artis Gilmore. This was the second closest. Artis Gilmore one time shook my hand, and I think it was a thing with him because he had these massive hands and he was really strong, and I think he wanted to see you go, whoa! And I did. I was like, let go of me. Mike Zunino was close to that, but he was a nicer guy. So he's on there. So there's the three guys. Now we got to pick a fourth for Mount Rushmore. Because if you know Mount Rushmore, it has 4 people right now. Can you name the 4 people that are on Mount Rushmore? Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt. Other Roosevelt? I don't know. Washington, Jefferson. I think there may be 2 Roosevelts on there. I don't know. I know who's not on there. And anyway, and so I wrote down some people I would consider. John Burke, great pitcher at Florida. Mark Valdez, one of the greatest pitchers ever at Florida. Brady Singer, Lincoln. Why would I forget Lincoln? Yeah. 7 minutes ago. That's a scene from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. All right, Brady Singer, who probably is, I think, will have the best career as a pitcher from a former Florida Gator. And then Faedo, who to me was the bulldog and carried that staff to a world championship. Laporta, obviously, with all the home runs he hit. Loved his team, too. I remember, I'll never forget, we were allowed to go into the dugouts after they lost that to Texas. They lost 2 games in a row, and that was the end of the College World Series. And going to the dugout, and Laporta was just bawling his eyes out. He was crying so hard. And that's when Jeremy took the whole team out into the outfield, Jeremy Foley, and said, you guys have set the standard for Florida. Now another team has set the standard, obviously, in 2017. And Mark Ellis, I'm not going to let him get away without even mentioning him. Mark Ellis did everything you needed him to do, set a record, a UF record for number of hits. But you know what, the more I started thinking about it, and this will, I'm an old timer. That's what I am. But I remember going to games when there were bleachers at the University of Florida. And obviously you had the hill out there in left field and everything. And the coach was Dave Fuller. And Dave Fuller was not only the baseball coach, but he also coached football as well. In fact, he recruited Jack Youngblood to the University of Florida. That's not why I'd put him on Mount Rushmore. I put him on there because he won a bunch of SEC titles. I should have looked up how many. It was a ton. They won it all the time. And he was a great baseball coach. And I decided to put him on there. So that's my Mount Rushmore, my Adams Ribco to go. Mount Rushmore for baseball. Wilkerson, Sully, or as Robbie calls him, Sully, Zunino, and Fuller. There you have it. Next, what is today? Friday? Okay. Days run together for me. On Monday, we'll do another one, and on Monday, we'll do the softball one. That'll be a fun one, too. We'll get to all the sports. I don't know that I'm going to do a lacrosse one. I don't know that I know the sport well enough. I love Mandy O'Leary, but I don't know if I know that sport well enough, and they've only been around for a little while. Probably we'll definitely do a soccer one, a tennis one, we may do a men's and women's combined tennis one. And then we'll do a track, volleyball. That'll be a fun one to do too. All right, so anyway, there is our Adams Ribco to go, Mount Rushmore. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We got 3 things from Hand Law that we're going to do. The Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. We got a lot of people who have already qualified. I apologize that we didn't get any of our guests on today. It just was bad luck, and this happens. We have been very fortunate through the years, the months, the weeks. I mean, this is episode 52. I think we've not gotten 3 people total on, but today just was a bad day. We'll make it up to you tomorrow. But don't quit watching. I've got a great stat for you that you're going to want to watch. So we'll do that. We'll do the Leonardo's Millhopper Quick Picks and the 3 things from Hand Law. Again, the Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI. I hope you are enjoying it. I'm just going to talk. And most of you listen to the radio. That's all I do there, too. Until we come back from this break, I'm not going to talk. How about that? We'll be right back. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Ribco to go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco to go. Come on down and enjoy it. This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444. Okay, welcome back to Another Dooley Noted Podcast. Appreciate everybody for watching, and those of you who are watching and those of you who are listening. And we love doing this show, and we're going to continue to bring in sponsors. We got a lot of things in the works. Let's just put it that way. And I think they're just going to make the show that much better. Again, we're in the summer. Summer is kind of the downtime, the dog days, as we like to say. but we are still going to have a lot of great things for you. And like I said, I think Monday's show will be great. We reached Davis and Riddell Anthony. You can't beat that combination. Today, we're going to do the best we can, and that's what we do. And we'll start out this segment by bringing you the 3 things. Oh, you know what I forgot? No, this is going to be TV magic right here. I forgot my hand law script here. That was like TV magic. All right, you ready? 3 Things is presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website, www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. Hand Law came on to do 3 things, and I have really appreciated that they've done it. And hopefully they stay with us for a long time. We love those guys over there. And 3 things right now is coming at you. Number 1, shockingly, I'm watching a lot of the U.S. Open because you know me and majors. I love them. And I saw where Phil Mickelson was mad about cell phones. People not shutting off their cell phones or not just clicking that one little button. How hard is that? And he was upset about it. But I'm like, why do they let cell phones into golf? Either you have to me, it's like you have to do one of 2 things. You either go, hey, nobody can bring cell phones in, put them in here, register them, leave them there. It used to be at the Masters, you could not bring cell phones in unless you had a sticker on it, and that meant you were media. And we were told, how to do it, turn it off. But for some reason, now you got to have cell phones because you got to be able to take video, and you got to do this. You got to be able to call people. And I'm like, you're asking for trouble there. So either ban cell phones from golf tournaments or let anybody yell and scream. I mean, to me, I'd like it either way. I have gotten to a point in my life when I go play golf, and I did yesterday. I played 9 holes yesterday. I turn on a music channel, a Spotify or something like that, or I just I get a playlist and listen to have music because it's like in the background. But these pro golfers are all about concentration, man. It's not working out for Phil. Please tell me that it's not because of the cell phones making too much noise. I don't think it is. All right, number 2, and this is something I'm going to probably talk about this today on the radio. I'm doing the show by myself, but Kerwin Bell's going to join us there. Kerwin, of course, has been on this podcast as well. In fact, my old boss, Arnold Feliciano, is going to stop in and talk about the newspaper. And we'll have some funny jokes. That'll be fun. But that's not about now. Then it's about we're talking about now. But this is something I want to talk about because I heard this on one of the stations I listen to on Sirius about socialism and football. I've heard it twice now, that football is the most capitalistic sport there is. And the way, if you really, really, really wanted to have parity, a 12-team playoff might help it this much. Maybe this much. But if you put a salary cap on football teams in college, it would help it this much. If you said to Alabama, sorry, you can only have 3 assistants getting $250,000 that aren't even part of your assistant coaching staff. All they do is analyze things, but they wear headsets. Well, they've tried to do that at times, and lawsuits and everything, and everybody freaked out. Now Alabama has like 26 of them. That's what Charlie Strong was doing. It's what Lane Kiffin did, and then he became a Sarkisian. I think Dennis Dodd has a great piece on it. He's actually doing a series of stories on Nick Saban's Wayward Home for Boys, as I call it, and rehabbing all these guys, which is good. And I never want anybody not to be employed, but and it will never happen where you're going to say, hey, we've decided, we've come down as the NCAA. Who cares what they think anymore? But we've decided we're going to put a salary cap. You can only spend X on recruiting. You can only spend X on assistant coaches. You can only spend Y on your head coach. There's a salary cap on him. And as a result, we already have a cap on how many players you can have. You want to make parity in college football? That's the way to do it. This is what the NFL's done. And now we think we know who the great teams are going to be in the NFL next year. We have no idea. We have no idea. Somebody's going to come out of nowhere. You know why? They have a draft, which, again, none of these things are going to work or ever happen in college football. You're never going to see socialism in college football. You're never going to see a draft in college football. Can you imagine that if you could just sit there and you go, well, we're Kansas, and we're like, we'll take that 5-star wide receiver with our first pick. It would be more fun, I think, but it is amazing though how the most capitalistic society in the world really is college football, more than even big businesses. But that's the way it is, and you can't legislate it when you don't even have a governing body. And the NCAA is not really a governing body. They're just kind of there to make sure they run lacrosse and tennis championships. You know, now you know why they're after Arizona State? Why are they after Arizona State? That was gonna be number 3, but we'll get a start on that. They're after Arizona State because somebody gave them all the information. 90% of, and maybe it's a higher number than that, of the NCAA going after schools because of recruiting violations and things they've done wrong is because somebody found it out and told them. It used to be, back when journalism was great, it used to be the newspapers that did it. The newspapers would find stuff out, somebody would call them, they would check into it, they would establish, get the story right, write it, and now the NCAA came in. This is what happened with Charlie Pell when he was head coach. And the St. Pete Times was a leader in this. I hate to say it because I was working at the Gainesville Sun and actually I was at the Times Union then, but the St. Pete Times is the one that came in. In fact, as the story goes, Charlie Pell did not, he always thought I could get away with anything and you're not going to mess with me, NCAA, because he had gotten away with it at Clemson. So he gets to Florida and he's doing the same stuff, 100 and something violations. And I love Charlie Pell. I got to be really good friends with him before he died. But as the story goes, he had an NCAA guy in his office, and he said, Charlie, on this piece of paper, I want you to write down every NCAA violation you think that you have committed, you think you might have committed. And Charlie took that piece of paper and watered it up in a ball and threw it and hit him in the head. And that was it. He thought he could get away with it. But it all started because the newspapers reported it. And now with Arizona State, which is number 3, they're dealing with it, and they've got a problem. And it turns out that Antonio Pierce, who they hired to be their kind of director of operations and assistant head coach and recruiting coordinator, may have gone a little rogue. And this was the question about Herm Edwards. Would Herm Edwards be a hands-on? Would he be able to do all this stuff? And apparently he became kind of a CEO. I'll sit back and I'll do all the TV spots and everything. And it ain't working out for him. So anyway, that is the 3 things presented by Hand Law. And as we get closer to football season, we're going to try to move this along with the 3 things because we appreciate Hand Law and we want to do more Gator stuff. So we may just make it, the 3 things will be stuff like, you know, who's going to be the best offensive lineman for Florida this year? Who's going to be the star on defense? Who are they going to take the SEC Media Days? We still don't know that answer either. All right, so we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do the Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. And I'm going to give you the Friday football fix. It's going to be a little bit longer than normal because of our lack of guests today. Because again, I'm not blaming anybody. One of our guests didn't show, and one of our guests had to postpone, so we'll have him on Monday, and Monday's show will be a great one. I think this show's been a lot of fun too, and we'll come back with the Friday Football Fix, and we'll tell you what Florida coaches would have done in terms of getting into the playoffs, all the way back to Ray Graves. How about that? That'll be fun stuff when we return on Another Dooley Noted Podcast.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where, everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org. All right, welcome back to Another Dooley Noted Podcast. I just heard from Bruce Feldman. He's got kid stuff. It's like the great song. Well, I'll give you two lyrics. One is from John Lennon, which is actually taken from Aldous Huxley, where he says, "Life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans." And the song from Sister Hazel. Now I blanked out on the lyrics. So, but just about. Oh yeah, life gets in the way. You had all these plans, but life got in the way, and that's what happens. And look, Bruce Feldman is one of my favorite people in the world. We'll get Bruce on probably next week sometime, but he has kid issues with twins and all this, and it's okay. It's okay. I hope you guys have still enjoyed the show today. I'm just trying to riff and have a good time with it. So Monday we will have Reese Davis and Riddell Anthony. That's my plan. And then we'll probably get Bruce on sometime. Robbie will probably be on next week. We're also going to do some other shows with several other celebrities, somewhat celebrities. Anyway, all right, so let's do the Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. We've got tons of qualifiers already, but I've got to wait on the latest qualifiers until the Nets-Bucks series is over, which is exciting. I've been so into that series. I've been so into the Hawks series. It's been a lot of fun. The NBA, and I don't know, here's the thing. Am I enjoying it because the Lakers are out, and I don't like the Lakers? You know my story with the Lakers. When they traded Shaq, I dumped them. Or am I liking it just because it's been interesting? They've been great stories. What's going on? I don't know. But I like it. That's all I care about, right? Like I like the U.S. Open. I'm looking forward to watching it all weekend. And by the way, for those of you who are fathers out there, happy Father's Day Sunday. I know how I'm spending mine. It's kind of a rule. Daddy gets to watch the U.S. Open, and there's food cooked for him. Sometimes it's crab legs. Sometimes it's steak. It'll be something. I got a card today from my daughter who lives in Los Angeles. I can't open it yet. You can't open your card day before Father's Day. I'm waiting till Father's Day for that. All right, so the Adams Ribco, the Leonardo, I'm confusing sponsors. Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks, which is such a popular segment here, and we get a ton of response from it. And again, this is your chance to qualify, and you'll qualify Sunday night because I want to know the score of the winner of the U.S. Open. It's minus or plus, whatever it is. The leaders were at -4 last I saw. I have not checked the scores since we've been on the show here today. I put mine in at -8 when I did my pool. Pick whatever you want. Just send it to me, PatrickDooley54 at gmail.com, and that will be your pick. All right, so last thing on today's show is I did this today. I was researching, and I kind of fell into it. The Friday Football Fix, which of course is presented by the Gainesville Quarterback Club, and look forward to the next meeting with them too. It's always fun. So we know that Dan Mullen, if there would have been this 12-team playoff with the format they use, would have been in all 3 playoffs. Now, he would have been home one time, but on the road for the other 2. We know that. And everybody's talked about that. But I went back and looked at every coach, all the way back to Ray Graves. And all you can use, because there was no, for most of it, there was no committee, there was no selection committee, there was no playoff for almost all of them. But I still went back and looked at, I'm just using the AP ranking, okay? Your final AP ranking going into the bowl, because you can't use it after a bowl game because that wouldn't have been right. Now, again, teams might have played differently, and that's not the point. All right, so I looked at Steve Spurrier, and this was interesting. Steve Spurrier would have made the playoffs 10 times in 12 years. The 2 he wouldn't have made it was 1990, and only because they were on probation. Not for anything they did, but he would not have been allowed to have gone to a playoff, I would assume. And then I think it was a 92 team would not have been in. Yeah, 92 would not have been in, which is a team that lost Alabama in the SEC and had a chance to go if they had beaten Alabama, and almost did. So of those 10 games, 3 times they would have gotten the bye, 91, 95, and 96. Of course, 96 they won the national championship. 6 times they would have been hosting. 6 other times hosting. Only 1 time of those 10 out of 12 that he would have been in the playoffs would they have had to go on the road. 1 time. That's pretty impressive. All right, Mullen 3 we already talked about. Urban Meyer would have had the bye in 2009. Think about this. Now, it depends on if I go by AP or the coaches or the AP poll. I think Florida was 5 in the AP poll, so they would have had to play a home game, but they were 4 in the coaches poll. But either way, think about that. That 2009 team that was so good and got all the way to the undefeated into the SEC title game would have been in the playoffs. And that game was heartbreaking. It put Urban Meyer in the hospital. That's how much it broke his heart. It tore it apart. They would have been in the playoffs anyway. You're going, okay. Are we still got a bye? Oh, or do we have a home game? What? Either way, they would have been. 2008, they would have had a bye. In 2007, which was Tim Tebow's Heisman year, they weren't as good a team. They would have been 12 seed. They'd have snuck in. 2006, they would have had a bye. 2005 was the only year. So 5 out of that they wouldn't have been in. 5 out of the 6 years of Urban Meyer, Florida would have been in the playoffs with 3 byes. That's pretty good. All right, Ron Zook. 3 years as a coach. How many times would he have made the playoffs? 0.0. They would have finished 15th, 17th, and 19th in the polls. That's not going to get you in. Will Muschamp would have made it once. not the other 3 years, wouldn't have come close. But would have made it, that 2012 team would have made it. They would have had a bye that season. So they're in the playoffs with a bye. Because remember, they were this close to getting into the national title game. In fact, it was my proudest moment as a father, because we were driving back from the Florida FSU game. Florida had just beaten FSU. We're driving back. USC's playing Notre Dame. We're listening to it on the radio. And USC's down on the 2-yard line. They're trying to punch it in. Of course, they're running stupid plays. And my daughter, who at the time would have been 11, maybe, sent me a text and just said one word: bootleg. I go, yes! I've raised her right. Bootleg would have worked there. Bootleg always worked. It didn't always work, but it works if you call it at the right time, and more teams should call it more. Anyway, Will Muschamp would have gotten in once. Your boy, Jim McElwain, he's not getting in. He never would have gotten in. And here's, again, this is part of the Jim McElwain legacy. And there's a lot of legacy to Jim McElwain. Some of it's good. Back-to-back trips to the SEC championship game, right? Some really big wins. The heave to cleave. The other win over Tennessee. There were a lot of good things that happened with him, but he always finished poorly against FSU or in that Alabama game. So they would have finished, they were 19th, 20th, and then, of course, at his last year, he was gone, and they wouldn't have been ranked anyway. So Jim McElwain, no soup for you. Galen Hall, he would have been not eligible the 2 years he would have made it, which would have been 84 and 85 because of probation, which is a shame. Those were great teams. Those teams could have won the national title. But so he wouldn't have been in. Charlie Pell, 83 is the only team that would have made it out of all the Charlie Pell teams that were on there. And that 83 team was good. I mean, I think the 82 team was better. They just found ways to lose games. They would have been on the road. So think about that. As good as Charlie Pell was, and as much as he's revered in some ways, he would have been to one playoff during his time. Galen Hall, none. But again, that was because of the cheating that went on under Charlie Pell. Jim McElwain, none. Will Muschamp, one. Ron Zook, none. Doug Dickey, none. 0. The closest he came, I think, was they were 13th one year in 75. That 75 team, I love that team. I thought that was a great team. And they lost one game by 1 point, one game by 3 points, and they still wouldn't have made the playoff if you just go by AP rankings. And I went all the way back to Ray Graves, none. Wouldn't have made any playoffs. The 69 team, which was his best team, 9-1-1, finished 15th in the final rankings. I mean, again, this is before the bowl game, because that's when you got to take it. So anyway, I think that's interesting stuff. I'll be talking about it again today on the radio, so you're going to have to hear it again. Appreciate everybody for all they do for us. Remember, you can watch and listen to us live every Monday and Friday on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, any of the 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. All right. We will be back Monday with a great show. I promise you. I hope you like this one. This was Pat Dooley talking. But that was what it used to be back in the old days when I was doing that podcast. And it was getting great numbers. So sometimes I can talk. Sometimes I can't. But I appreciate Evan for hanging in here with me today. Again, we'll have a great show on Monday. Riddell Anthony set to join us. Reese Davis set to join us. Look forward to that as well. Until next time, I am Pat Dooley saying I am deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.